everyone. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Hour of Breakthrough. And so before we get started today, I did want to tell you a little bit about the Hour of Breakthrough for those of you who are joining us for the first time. The Hour of Breakthrough is actually my vision to provide education to our community about mental health issues. With all that's been going on in the news lately surrounding mental health issues, I thought it would be really a good idea to have a forum or a place where questions could be answered about mental health, and so there could be more of an understanding and hopefully a discussion about some things that might not be clear about mental health issues. And so that's the why for the Hour of Breakthrough. And so today we actually have a topic about entrepreneurship. And when you think of entrepreneurs, you don't necessarily think of that particular community having mental health concerns. You don't necessarily think mental health. But the literature out there does suggest that that particular community does have high stress levels, and that is understandable. I mean, in entrepreneurship, there are some uncertainties about how things are going to go. Sometimes it can be isolating. There are, several factors that are unique to that particular community that we're going to talk a little bit about today. But before we go into more detail about, sort of the mental health side of things with regard to that, I'm going to actually introduce my guest, Miss Ansylla Ramsey.
Hello.
Hello. So Ansylla knows quite a bit about entrepreneurship. She has had over 17 years experience being in work for herself, business for herself, as a holistic hair care specialist. And so Ansylla has gone all over the world, really, training and giving other stylists information and insights, her wisdom about how to run a successful hair care business. So she's been to the UK, Spain, France, other place, Spain.
UK, France, and Spain.
Yeah.
But I've had students attend from South America, Africa, different places.
So really all over the world. And so now she actually spends her time providing financial education, right, to specialist stylists to help them better understand, how their finances work, and, just having a certain financial savvy. And so she'll talk a little bit more about what she does with regard to that today. So I'm so happy to have Ansylla. And so Ansylla, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored to be here.
You are so welcome. You can come anytime.
Okay.
We have such a good time. I don't know if any of you all have seen some of our other videos, but we did actually one other video together. And I actually had a client recently who said, I saw you talking to this lady, and it was such a good interview. And she was talking about our interview. So
wow.
I was like, all right, you're getting me clients.
I know, right?
So it's
That's
just,
great.
it's always a good time. So thank you so much. I actually had my questions, but that's okay. I memorized them, most of them, hopefully. So the first question is, and you and I have talked about this in our years of knowing each other. Actually, Ansylla was my stylist for quite a few years. She started my locks. I get lots of compliments on my locks, and Ansylla actually is the one who started my locks. So during our time together, we've had some time to have some really good conversations.
Yes, we have.
And so one of the things that I do remember asking you, but I'd like for you to tell our viewership, is a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and what made you decide to be an entrepreneur. Why did you decide to do it, and kind of how that whole process started?
To be completely honest, it wasn't a decision that I consciously made. It was kind of something that resulted from being let go at my job. So I was in corporate America. I've been in accounting my adult life, and I was working at a small firm here in DC for about 4 or 5 years. And around that same time that I started working there, I had also transitioned to natural hair. So I was becoming a little more Afrocentric and appreciating Africanism and things related to Africa. So that resulted in African decor in my office. And the owner of the company, he didn't like that too much. And I was wearing, of course, the natural hair. I was wearing Bantu knots. He actually made a really snide comment about my Bantu knots once. So the writing was pretty much on the wall. So anyway, but honestly, entrepreneurship was not like, oh, I want to work for myself. I was just like, well, everyone works. I have to have a job. The money was good. I'll deal with it. But when I got fired, I really reflected on my corporate experience. I never fit in corporate America. I always felt like it was drudgery.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I liked my job, I didn't like the environment per se. I just kind of felt like there was just a lot of expectations beyond your job description. You know, people want you to be social and they want you to go out and hang out. And I wasn't there for that. I have friends. You know, I come, I do my job, you give me my check. This is our agreement. You know, but it's like they snub you if you're not playing the game and the office politics, and it's just not me. So, you know, everything's not for everybody. So when I got out of there and I reflected, I said, you know what, this is my chance. Around that same time I was transitioning to natural hair, I was learning to do my own hair.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I said, well, I'm out of this job. I'm not going on another interview. I'm not buying a suit. I just was done with the whole thing. So I took a class in a natural hair class in Atlanta, and that's all she wrote.
Wow.
The rest is history.
The rest is history. Wow.
So yeah, it was not a really a conscious decision. It was more of, okay, now that I'm here, now what?
Mm. Wow. So that is so interesting. So it sounds like it, you know, almost you kind of fell into it, but it almost like
Exactly what happened. Just with my attitude, I was not going back to be interviewed, and I was done with that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So what has kind of kept you in it? I mean, have there ever been days where you've been like, well, I can't take this no more. Let me get back to the 9 to 5. At least I know.
Ooh, don't say those words. 9 to 5. I'm just joking. No, 9 to 5 it's not been an option for me at all.
Wow.
Never. I mean, I've never, ever, even now, I will never, ever consider going back to a job.
So there's never been like, if things get a little rocky or seasons are a little, you know, 1 month isn't as good, there's never been like in the back of your mind, well, you could always go back. No?
Never. And I think a big part of that is everything that I do, I try to be purposeful. When doing natural hair, yes, I'm a hairstylist. Yes, I take care of people's hair, but as a natural hairstylist, it was so much more than that. I was really helping people with their self-esteem.
Wow.
I was helping people achieve self-love. I would see people come to me afraid to walk out in their natural hair. I've started people's locks and they put on a wig in my salon and walked out in their wig.
Wow.
Until they've reached a point where they're confident enough to walk out with their natural hair. So for me, that was my reason. I'm like, these people need me, you know?
Look at that.
They need me.
Wow.
If I'm not going to help them, they're not getting help from home, they're not getting help from family, they're not getting help from work.
Wow.
Who's going to give it to them?
Wow. So the purpose, it was like a bigger purpose, like a greater good, a greater purpose.
Yeah, just beyond just doing hair.
Wow.
So that's part of my drive. And even now what I'm doing is beyond just financial education. I want to see people do better. I want to see people leave money for their children. I don't want to see people scraping up money for a funeral.
Yeah.
One of my pet peeves.
Yeah.
Get life insurance. So I can't take it. You know, you're going to work every day. And it's one thing if you're in a position and you cannot afford it. Okay, I'm not going to say that's not valid. But most of us go to work some kind of way and make some kind of money. We can afford to buy a term life policy for a few bucks a month.
Yeah.
Your children are going to need something.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have children, your family's going to be so distraught and not have to scrape up money for a burial, you know, or a cremation, whatever your options are. Yeah. Just something. You leave something. Okay, sidebar.
But that's real talk. Yeah. That's real talk. Yeah.
So, anyway. Yeah. So that's part of my drive too. Just I've always wanted to be purposeful no matter what I do. I want to help people.
Yeah.
And every step of my journey, that's what it's been. Even when I was teaching, I want to help stylists have good businesses.
Wow.
So much of what I would teach was way more than styling. It was business management. It was client retention. It was how to interact with people. You know, a lot of people have skills and abilities, and a lot of hairstylists are really artists, but they don't have the interpersonal. Some don't have the interpersonal piece. So retaining clients might be a challenge. So it was always, you know, what do you need? How can I help you? So that's just kind of who I am.
Wow, that's so good, Ansylla. Thank you for that. Wow, I just felt that. Like I just felt that because I mean it's similar to I think a lot of people who go into I shouldn't say a lot of people but a lot of people I know who go into entrepreneurship is because they're connected to a cause, and so it's just so powerful to hear you share your why. Can you tell me, have you seen that in your life at all? Have you seen examples of entrepreneurship? Do you have mentors like? You know, was there anyone that you could sort of look to say, you know what, I like what they're doing, I kind of want to pattern myself, or, I mean, how does that work for you?
That's a good question. I would say there have always been people that I've respected in my industry, in the natural industry for sure. Um, I can't really say I had a mentor, honestly. I've had people along the way who have contributed positively to my journey. And to be honest, I have had the best clients.
Wow.
I'm not just saying that because you're sitting here. I have had some of the best clients. I mean, I have clients to this day. I'll call them. We just got together for lunch not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's get together for lunch, because you really do form a friendship with the people that you're seeing every month or every 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that influence came more from my clients. But there are many people who I respect, who I think do amazing work, who are very artistic, and who also support the industry and give back to the industry. There are a large number of those people, and those are the people who I think I admire more so than maybe the most talented stylist. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely.
Good stuff.
Mhm.
Okay. So Ansylla, tell us what have been some of the challenges being an entrepreneur? Because even though you have this purpose and you're really driven because you're connected to it, I'm sure there were probably times that were a little more challenging.
Mhm.
So what were some of the challenges?
Some of the challenges for me were probably the biggest would be financial. And not so much not having money, more so not knowing what to do with it. I think that so many of us are not trained in financial education or good financial practices. And that's something I'm devoting myself to now, as I was telling you. But, I was making good money. I was paying my bills, and I was eating, and I was traveling, but I wasn't planning. So that was a challenge, especially when it came down to I wanted to stop doing hair. What do? I don't have a whole lot of money saved, so that was a big piece of it. And also not just the financial planning, but the scheduling, because, when you're working a lot, for me, a lot of times it was my administrative stuff that will fall behind. So I was constantly playing catch up and constantly playing catch up. So that brings on stress.
Sure.
That's part of it. And because I didn't have the strategy, if something unexpected happened, boom, that's stressful. Because what do I do?
Right.
One of the financial gurus that I follow, Brian Bean, he says it's only an emergency when you don't have the money. If you have the money, it's just an inconvenience. I was like, that is so true.
Wow.
If I could just write a check, we're good.
Right. No, that's so
so the financial planning and just the scheduling, those were probably two of my biggest challenges. Yeah.
Okay, great. And so how did you overcome, I guess, that challenge? And also, what are some of the ways that you maintain your balance? When you talk about balance, what does that mean to you, and how do you maintain it?
I think balance is just so important because it's really easy to get caught up doing one thing or being a little too extreme or not letting stuff fall by the wayside. So balance is basically you're covering everything, that you're giving everything the adequate attention that it needs. I guess that's the best way I can explain it, in my opinion. So for me, overcoming the challenges was part of it was education, learning about the finances, and for the scheduling, just discipline. I just had to discipline myself and say, you know what, you need to get this done. Get it done. Because you'll regret it later when it's time to pay taxes and you're running around trying to get your stuff together. It's real. So discipline. I just had to, and it wasn't a one-time shot. It's been a process. Because it's when you enjoy doing something, it's great and good. But when it's like, oh, God, not so much.
Yeah.
So, but again, it just takes the self-discipline. So, I strive to maintain balance, first of all, in a physical way. Because I was a stylist for so long and I stood on my feet for so long, and a lot of people had problems with their hands and arms over the years doing hair. In a physical way, I just made sure I tried to do the best to take care of myself. Wearing the right shoes, having the right mat to stand on. I supplement to support my musculoskeletal system. I never had problems with my arms or hands at all.
Wow.
So because I knew that was possible, so I was proactive and I took supplements to prevent that. And one thing that sounds really simple and unimportant, but people don't drink enough water. And I know it sounds silly and it sounds cliche, but you have to drink enough water, and especially when we're standing up all day and we're working all day. And I know some people don't like to because they feel like they're running to the restroom too much. dehydration is such a major contributor to a lot of different health situations. So if nothing else, just drink some water. You know, whatever your field is. People don't drink enough water. So those are some of the things I did to maintain my balance physically.
Okay.
So emotionally, I think it's really important to be honest with yourself and to know who you are. So as a natural hair professional, you know, I spent many hours with people. And for me, it was important to have the right energy in my salon space. Now, this might not sound like a good business practice, but I know how I operate and what makes me comfortable, and I just feel like this is my business and I need it to be what I want it to be. I just could not take clients that had negative energy, you know, and it wasn't a matter of them being bad people or, you know, we just didn't vibe. You know, some people have this way of being extremely negative, or they do these snide put downs, or, you know, make jokes about, you know, making people feel bad, but they try to make it in. I can't deal with those people, not even on a professional level. So for me, for my emotional balance, I could not have those types of clients. Now, there are other people it doesn't bother. Great. But for me, you know, if I felt that was the way the relationship was going, I would just ask them not to come back or refer them to someone else. Probably. I would just tell them that our professional relationship had run its course. And, you know, the next people were waiting in the wings, you know, but that was necessary for me. Yeah, everybody has to do what's good for them. And that just goes across the board, not just in my business life. You know, I feel like it's so important to surround yourself with people. This is my rule of thumb. If I spend time with a person or persons and I don't walk away feeling better, then maybe those are not the people that I need to be with.
Wow.
You know, if I walk away like, man, I can't believe they did this or that they said this. So that's just not my circle.
Wow.
You know, and I hope that doesn't sound judgmental, because it's not judgmental. It's just a matter of knowing what benefits you.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
How long did it take for you to get to that point? Like, is that something that, you know, took a few years to get to that point, or that was always Ansylla? Like,
No, probably maybe in my 30s, late 20s, 30s maybe, I started to kind of say, oh, you know what? I don't want to be with these people, so I'm not going to be with them. You know, I think what happens is we have this idea that we have to be nice. You can't be rude. You can't say no. But that's not true. We don't have an obligation to anybody.
wow.
I mean, I'm not saying cuss them out and tell
Right,
them.
right.
But if someone invites you somewhere and you don't really want to be there, just say, I'm sorry, I can't make it.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Sounds like you're talking about boundaries and prioritizing to me. I mean,
Exactly.
That's some of what I hear.
That's exactly what it is, boundaries. And there are people who are expert at making you feel obligated to do what they want you to do. You ever met somebody like that? I mean, the next you know, you're like, how am I going to do this? Why am I here?
Yeah.
They're real, so you have to be very firm in
Yeah.
your boundaries.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I reached that point, seriously, probably my early 30s. I was like, you know what, that's enough of that. My
Okay.
time is precious.
Wow.
And if I would rather be at home watching TV instead of over here with these people, that's okay. You know? It's okay.
Well, I mean, as you're speaking, Ansylla, I'm actually thinking about like the entrepreneur part of it and the financial part of it. So there are some of us who are, you know, kind of, you know, not really where we want to be financially, and maybe look at, you know, can we afford to lose certain clients, you know? And so, what do you say to those individuals who may be like, well, you know, they may not be the best energy, or, you know, they may zap my spend, they may whatever, but, you know, at least they pay on time or what have you. What would you say?
And I understand that 100%. And like I said, your business is what you want it to be. So if you feel like you can endure that to get the money, that's fine. I just couldn't. My mental peace comes first. I don't like to feel bad. I don't like to feel drained. I don't like, you know, I got to the point where if I were looking at my calendar and certain names were up, I already knew what to expect.
Wow.
And I wasn't looking forward to it.
Wow.
So, honestly, my book would be such that every client that was coming in, like, we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about that, we're going to laugh. You know, that's just how I structured my business to be. And believe me, like I said, all money's not good money. You know, sometimes you make the sacrifice, because I don't think that you should sacrifice your inner peace for anything, personally. That, you know. But everybody do what you want to do.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. And I definitely believe that, as a Christian, I think most people on here know that I'm a believer.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely believe that God provides, and so I think prioritizing Him, I think everything else falls into place. So that's my personal belief.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I really connect to what you're saying about sort of having to put certain things first, and for you it's your mental piece, and your emotional piece, and that's important.
Absolutely.
So, thank you for sharing that.
Sure. Another thing that I think is very important for emotional balance is vacation.
Yay!
Take a vacation. And if all you can get in is a weekend, that's great. But try to take a week and go somewhere that you're doing nothing. I mean, it's fine to go. Let me just say this: I like to go somewhere where I can't even be connected by telephone.
Wow. That's big. That's major.
Yeah,
yes.
Maybe on WhatsApp if it's something important and you need to message me, but don't call me.
That's good.
So just take a real vacation, totally disconnect, because that's the only way you're going to rejuvenate. Because if you're constantly thinking, oh, what's happening at the salon? Oh, is someone going to, let me schedule this appointment. You're not really on vacation.
Yeah.
Because really, because you're an entrepreneur, you're always working anyway.
Right.
I mean, honestly, because we were talking over the weekend,
right?
Because it's what we do.
Right.
But the only way to really vacation is to disconnect.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's very important
to
me.
Great advice. Oh my goodness. Especially in this day and age, everybody, I mean, I find myself doing it too. Like my daughter could be right there and I'm up there, texting and seeing who, looking at my group me's and, I just like, oh my gosh, what have I become, So I like what you say about disconnecting and how that is important in rejuvenation. So wow, that's awesome.
Yes, definitely. And important. And I'm talking every year, not every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. More than once a year if you can, but at least once a year.
Yeah. And I like what you said too about doing what you can do. I think sometimes, again, people comparing and contrasting, it's like, well, so was able to go to Jamaica or they were able to go to Aruba and, I'm only able to go to Ocean City or whatever.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Turn off your phone.
Right. Right, exactly. So just doing what you can do and know that, it's benefiting you.
Speaking to that, Renita, and I think that's a big, it's more of a problem now than it used to be because of social media. I was telling a young lady in one of my classes a while ago, it used to be when I first started doing hair in 2000, I did hair, I did good work, I got referrals, my business grew. Period.
Right.
That's all it took.
Right.
But now you have to be on Instagram, you have to be on Facebook, you have to show what you do, you have to talk about what you're doing. And then when you're doing this, you're seeing what everybody else is doing, or what they say they're doing.
Right. That's a good distinction.
Okay. And then you feel like, oh, I should be doing more. I should be doing better. But again, one, not believing everything you see online, but still being comfortable with your accomplishments. Take the time to celebrate what you do, what you've done. And I think that little piece is missing too. We so often focus on what everybody else is doing and what we're not doing. We don't see all the good that we do.
Wow, that's so good. That's powerful. Y'all can you say that one more time?
Sometimes we spend a lot of time focusing on what other people are doing and what we're not doing instead of focusing on what we really do.
Yeah, that's really good. I had also read somewhere in one of the articles that I read, kind of setting out, what you have accomplished. A lot of times we have to-do lists and what we need to do, but we don't always, cross off or at least celebrate what we've already done. So even in your day-to-day practice, and I think especially for the entrepreneur, because we don't have necessarily a measure like, that the 9-to-5er may have. So, powerful point. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Just dropping these nuggets. I hope y'all are writing it down. Okay.
Oh, and the last piece, the balance spiritually. Well, for me, spirituality is my priority. So the times that I have set aside that I know I'm going to worship, I don't work at that time. I don't waver on that. My religious meetings are Saturdays at 11. So if I get invited to speak somewhere, I'm sorry, I can't. Or if someone has a wedding and they want to do that, I'm sorry, I can't, because that's my priority. So, and my spirituality and my belief system is a part of who I am. So it really shows in everything I do. It shows the integrity you show at work. It shows the way you treat your clients or your coworkers or your colleagues or whatever the case may be. So it's really just remembering, your foundation, I think is important, and not letting the things around you make you forget that, or forget who you are and what you believe and what you want to practice and how you want to be.
Wow.
So I think
that's so good. So don't compromise.
Right.
Don't compromise. And I think, again, sometimes chasing the mighty dollar, people find themselves, bending a little bit, bending the rules, or everybody else seems to be, and they're getting ahead. But really recognizing what your priorities are and remembering your foundation, and remembering that you are accomplished, and recognizing what you have done already. So such great insight. And so I hope that even if you're not able to join us live as we are live, I hope that you all are able to look at this video at a later time, because there's some great information that Ansylla has provided us with.
Okay.
So great. So Ansylla, can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing, and then maybe I will go back to no, actually, maybe I'll talk about this now. I'll talk about some of the things that were discussed in the literature about how entrepreneurs can, sort of thrive. And a lot of these things Ansylla has actually already covered. So prioritizing connection. So Ansylla did mention, she has her own group of friends that she, sort of hangs out with, and she makes it a point to connect with them. But I think that at least the research does suggest that entrepreneurial ventures can be isolating, and so it's important to remain connected to your family and your friends. Revisit your expectation is another point that they talk about. We were talking about that just now. Ansylla was talking about sometimes you can look at other people and compare yourself to other people, and your expectation could be really like here, and so anything else you do is not good enough, even if what you're doing is really good. So recognizing, checking your expectations. Let's see, making yourself a non-negotiable, making self-care a non-negotiable, sorry. Once again, Ansylla touched on that. She didn't even see my notes. She touched on all this. But self-care, there are things that, Ansylla makes sure that she does. Like, vacationing, I would argue that that's self-care. Going to the gym, or working out, exercise, eating right, drinking water, like that's all part of self-care. What are you doing to replenish you? So checking in with that. And again, nothing is greater than another. Like if you're not able to get a massage every week, well, what can you do? Can you go walking outside every day or every week? That's something. So try not to poo-poo what you're doing to take care of yourself. The point is that it has to be replenishing and rejuvenating to you. Let's see, getting a therapist or a coach, a life coach, that can be helpful. I'm certainly going to advocate this for being in the field of mental health, but it can be really helpful in uncovering who you are. Ansylla, she has a very strong sense of who she is, and that came with time and through her life journey. But do you really know who you are? Do you know what your likes and dislikes are? Do you know what is your foundation? Exploring some of these things with a counselor or a coach can really help you as you progress in your industry. Let's see. Find other sources of self-worth and meaning. So a lot of the times people, I didn't talk about this, we didn't talk about this, Ansylla, but sometimes people connect their sense of self-worth with their business and their industry, and it's important to have a self outside of what you do. And so that's very important. I'm going to have to do this just so I can see. But yeah, so it's important to have something that you can call, your own, that's outside of your business. Your business doesn't define you. It's a large part of what you do, but it doesn't, that's not all of who you are. We're multifaceted beings. Redefine what success or failure means to you. We did talk a little bit about, about this. You can, success doesn't have to be, being a Fortune 500 company. I mean, we're small business owners, so. But it could be something that's more closely connected with, are you walking in your purpose? Or, that sounds very cliched, but I mean, it's true. You heard Ansylla talk so passionately about her work and how her work, a lot of times you don't necessarily think about hair care as being connected to a purpose of, helping people, improve their self-esteem and just, being more grounded and Ansylla did all those things. And so, just really having a good sense of what success means, because I think that there's never really a real failure if you kind of look at success, if you kind of redefine the term. You know, there's teachable moments, right? There's things that we can learn from our experiences. And then learn how to show up for yourself during difficult times. So the article that I was reading was talking about self-compassion, and that's really important. I definitely talk about that with the clients that I see, and just really being kind to yourself. A lot of times we're these negative thoughts, and we've had experiences and exposures that give us certain messaging, and we replay this messaging in our minds, and we start believing these things, and it results in us being pretty abusive to ourselves and not very kind to ourselves. So it's important to practice self-compassion with yourself, especially when times get tough. Know you're not a failure at everything, or you're not a failure in life because you've had one bad month. That's not what that is. So those things are some ways that you can, as an entrepreneur, sort of maintain balance according to the literature. And Ansylla has also given you some really helpful tips that have worked for her in her life. So I hope that you will consider some of those things. If there's anyone joining us right now that's an entrepreneur that would like to share what are some of the things that they personally do to maintain balance, now is an opportunity to do so. No pressure, but if you do want to share, please feel free to. Alternatively, if you have any questions about, for myself or Ansylla, about anything that we're talking about today, now's a good time to ask those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, as you might be formulating the questions, Ansylla could probably tell us a little bit more about some of the ways that she helps other entrepreneurs with financial, I guess, intelligence, or I don't know what you would call it.
Education,
Strategy.
strategy.
Financial strategy, yeah.
So, since I shut down my salon in November and I walked away from holistic hair care after all those years, and I do miss my clients. I do. But now I'm focusing on financial education, helping families attain financial success through cash flow generation and financial education. So it's not just for entrepreneurs, it's for anyone. It's for employees, employers, entrepreneurs, self-employed, people who work from home, whoever you are, you need a financial strategy. So this is something that people may not understand. Capitalism is a system, and you have to learn to play the game. And if you don't know the rules, you always lose the game.
Right.
So that's what we do. We show people the rules, so you understand everything from tax filing, record keeping for tax purposes, investing, having a cash flow strategy, even understanding some of the basics of economics, like cash flow versus income. Understanding interest, paying interest down more quickly, credit repair. So we really have a program that is all encompassing when it comes to financial education. So I see a lot of people promoting credit repair now, and I do think that's important because there's a lot of stuff that's just wrong on people's credit reports. So once you get it cleared up, what now? How do you maintain that good credit? So we take it a step further. So that's what I'm doing now. I have an event, if you're in the Washington, D.C. area, I'm having an event on Thursday, August 23rd at 7 p.m.
Okay.
Right up the street in Lanham. And you can reserve your space at lifestylevisionary.com. Lifestylevisionary.com. Thursday, August 23rd at 7 p.m. Would love to have you there. It's free. But I will ask that you reserve your space because space is limited, so we want to know who's coming. And I'll show you all about it. And you're going to learn something because this is not just some fluff pieces. We're going to give you some valid information to go home with.
Yeah, good stuff. That's August 23rd,
August
Ansylla?
23rd.
Is that a Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. August 23rd, guys. So get your seat and come on.
Lifestylevisionary.com.
There you go. There you go. Well, this has been great. This is actually the longest the hour breakthrough has actually run, at 40 minutes almost. So that's good. That's a good thing. So,
That's because I talk so much.
No. This is great, and I hope to have more guests on the show. I think it's just really just helpful to have the dialogue going, and it's informative. I think that's certainly my heart is to inform and provide the information. You had said something that was really powerful. You said a lot of powerful things, but there was something that you had said about how it's important because you knew you were able to, I guess, make adjustments or something along those lines. But you know, knowledge is power. Applied knowledge is power. I heard that said once, and so it's important that once you have the information, to apply it. So I hope that this segment was helpful, and I hope that the information that you received you can apply, especially the tips about, you know, self-care and prioritizing, you know, your socialization and things like that. Okay, so
Let me contribute one more thing.
Sure.
So I really applaud Renita for bringing this information, because I think sometimes people think entrepreneurs are super people. You know, we just have all this energy, we're always going to get it. And we get it done, you know.
right.
But sometimes it does have its side effects if we don't balance it out. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that you're aware of that, making people aware of that. Because mental health is such an issue. Well, it has always been, but now people are more aware.
Yeah.
The need of being aware of your own mental health.
Yeah.
And just to mention, this is, you know, not necessarily applicable to anybody maybe watching, but if you need, get help.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't think enough people want to admit that they need help, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you were diabetic, you go to a doctor.
Right.
Or if you broke your arm, you get a cast. So it's really the same thing. It's just
Exactly.
a different type of your health. So
Exactly.
I
So
hope
glad
that
you said
people do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a stigma associated with it. I mean, people think that, you know, that makes you weak or somehow, I don't know, less than. And so I really want to help people understand that it's okay. You know, it's okay to get help. It's okay to ask for help. And I like the way you kind of paralleled it with, you know, physical ailments. I think because you can't see mental health issues necessarily, people don't think that it's real. And there's, you know, there's a whole, that's probably another show, a whole different reason why people have the beliefs that they have about mental health issues, especially in the Black community.
Right.
But yeah, so I appreciate Ansylla so much.
This was
Thank you so
fun.
much.
Yes,
I
my
appreciate Lady
privilege.
Love. I appreciate her so much.
My pleasure.
So,
my pleasure.
hopefully we'll have you again on the show.
Anytime.
Yeah.
You're 3 minutes from my house. You
Yeah.
can call me a half an hour in advance. I'll be here.
I won't do that.
Right.
Ansylla doesn't roll like
I know,
that. All right, y'all. Well, have a good rest of your day.
All right.
and
Thanks, you guys,
we'll
for
talk to
joining us.
Yep.